Hey there, YouTube, and welcome to Ask a Maestro. Today's question: what are those outfits that men in an orchestra wear? Well, YouTube, I am so glad you asked, even though actually nobody asked this question, and I just wanted to talk about it. I am obsessed with formal dress, which is what I am wearing right now. This is called men's full formal dress. It doesn't really have a different title than that. What it is not is a tuxedo. A tuxedo is a very specific thing. It became more popular in like the 1920s, but this existed as sort of men's formal dress from about probably standardized around the 1880s and then, until today. It's the most formal thing that a man can wear. And this is what orchestral musicians in a professional orchestra wear on stage. And it's what conductors, male conductors, really ought to wear. Even though we have seen egregious offenses against fashion in the conducting world in the past 20, 30 years, this is the proper thing to wear. So what distinguishes it from a tuxedo? A tuxedo has a short jacket. It's what's called a dinner jacket. Now you'll see that the tailcoat has these swallowtails. A tuxedo jacket ends right about here, just like a normal business suit jacket does. Now different contexts call for different attire. For example, when an orchestra plays a matinee, oftentimes the gentleman will simply wear suits. And that's as it should be, with a long tie. For certain gala performances, they might wear a tuxedo. Or youth orchestras, very commonly, the boys wear tuxedos with black tie. But for any formal concerts on a Friday night or a Saturday night, it's full dress. And now I will explain to you all the elements that go into this. Alright, so I'm starting with my shirt and my pants already on, because it's not that kind of a video. But I will say about what I have on underneath, I just have, well, let it be known, I am wearing underwear. And I have on an undershirt, which is just a regular A-frame undershirt that goes by another name, but I do not care to repeat it because I find it very offensive. And I have on long socks. They're basically stockings. They go all the way up my calf. And you do want to wear that. I don't wear garters or the whole garter belt thing, and well, at least not when I'm conducting. And so that's what you want. You don't want there to be any chance that your legs are going to be exposed while you are wearing this attire. As to my shirt, there are a number of components here. The main area here is called a bib, because as you can see, it's made of a different material than like the sleeve and everything. The sleeves are just plain cloth. It's what's called broadcloth. The bib is made out of a material called pique, P-I-Q-U-E, accent aigu. And a lot of this outfit is actually made out of that. When you take the shirt to the cleaners, you should actually ask them to use heavy starch on the front, on the bib portion. Because the idea is that having this starched, gleaming white front that's sort of hard will cover up any imperfections or flaws in the actual material of your torso. So if you're not, say, have a flat washboard abs, unlike me, of course, then this sort of hides many things. Whereas usually you should not have any starch put on your shirt because it eats away at it. This is one exception. Now, you'll notice that these are actually not buttons, what I've used to button up my shirt. They're actually called studs, and basically all they are is sort of a separable button. When you're wearing formal dress, the studs need to be made out of a material called mother of pearl, and they should be set in silver. And so they come off, and you put the stud inside, so now it's become like a button, and then you can button up your shirt. The top button is a real, just a normal kind of plastic button, or I'm sure it's properly made out of something else. Now, the cuffs are also made out of that pique material, and the cuff links should also be made, obviously, of the same thing as your studs, the mother of pearl and the silver setting. One thing I'll say about the proper cuff for this full dress shirt is that usually when you wear cuff links, they are what's called double-barreled, which means that they fold back on themselves, and so the cuff link actually goes through like 4 layers of material. In a formal dress shirt, the cuffs are single-barreled. Even though they don't, fold over like a normal shirt, you still use the cuff link. The last thing I'll talk about is the collar. It used to be, back in Downton Abbey days, that the collar was actually separable. And there would have been a button, another stud actually, right here. And if you look closely in Downton Abbey, you will see that the men's collars do have these buttons, the studs, up there. Because the collar was separable. And this is something I wish that they would bring back. It's almost impossible to find a tailor who will make a separable collar for you. But there's so many advantages. Namely, you can have like 5 or 6 or 10 collars, probably a man in the Edwardian period would have had that. And so when they get dirty, they can be washed separately or thrown away, even better. If you take a close look sometime at the men who play in an orchestra, at their collars, they are disgusting. They look like urine-soaked hellholes, okay? And it's because men sweat around their neck, and especially like if you're a string player, right? You've got that instrument shoved up against your neck, and you've got all these lights coming down. Of course, your face is going to sweat, and it's all conglomerates on these filthy, wretched collars. And I mean, men in orchestras, sometimes, you know, they don't have their clothes cleaned for years and years and years. That's a whole separate issue. But if only they would make the collar separable again, then they could at least change that, and that would solve one problem. Now, the pants are basically identical to a tuxedo pants. And the one thing that really defines them is that they should have a satin stripe going down the side. Okay, next we have to find a way to keep the pants up. And for that, we're going to use suspenders called braces in Britain. Now, if you have a good pair of pants, they will have buttons inside the waistband. And the braces have these little hooks on the end. And so you just button them. Don't preferably get the suspenders that have those metal clips. They're sort of tacky. I mean, if you have pants that don't have buttons on the inside, better just take them to a tailor and get them to put buttons. It'll take like 10 minutes. And lo and behold, my pants are now going to stay up. Okay, time for neckwear. There's only one approved style of neckwear for a full dress ensemble. That is a white piqué bow tie. Now, I have gone on lengthy rants about the superiority, or really just the unfeasibility of using a pre-tied bow tie. Please don't wear pre-tied bow ties. They look so tacky and so lame and cookie cutter and like factory mass produced. And a real bow tie just, it gives you that extra bit of panache that you really do want when you're trying to feel good about yourself and look good. So how do we tie a bow tie? It's really easy. It's actually the exact same knot as tying your shoelace. So we just put it on the neck around, take the left side over the right, bring it up through. So now all you've got is just a simple tie. That's it. I mean, it's just once over and nothing's tied yet. Then you make a little loop out of the left side here, take the right side over, and then this is the tricky part to describe. You make a loop with the other side and just pull that through. There's another loop behind what's going on, and then you just kind of fluff it up, pull it out, get it nice and even. And, you know, I'm not using a mirror right now, but I'm going to assume that I did a pretty good job. You want to get this middle thing kind of tight, and yeah, that's it. Now, the collars on your shirt should have these wing tips. There's some discrepancy about this. I am fully of the opinion that the wing tips should go behind the bow tie. Sometimes you do see it with them sort of resting on top or over. I think that's incorrect, but you know, there are historical records and pictures and stuff where you can see men wearing their wingtips like that. So now we have on pants, braces, suspenders, shirt, bow tie, doing pretty well. Now there is a legitimate choice about what to wear to complete this torso ensemble. My preference is for a white vest, also made out of piqué. But you can wear a white cummerbund. But as I said, I actually prefer a vest. Now this vest is a little bit untraditional. I've had it altered, but it's not quite everything it should be. But what makes it untraditional is that it has a back on it. And normally, these vests are backless in the most traditional fashion. As you can see, it's made of this textured piqué fabric. And so we just button, should have 3 buttons. And of course, you should have a nice lapel. Now everything is gleaming white and ready for the tailcoat. So the tailcoat, this is something that really distinguishes the full dress from a tuxedo, because a tuxedo ends right here. There aren't these what are called swallowtails. Now you'll notice that there are 2 buttons here on the back of the tailcoat. That's traditional. Those are supposed to be there, even though they have absolutely no function. They are purely, they're like a vestigial organ or something. But anyway, you just put it on. Always easier with the help of a butler, but I do not regularly employ one. So the nice thing about the tailcoat, there's a few really great things. You can throw the tails back right before you sit down. Now notice that the tailcoat is not buttoned. Once again, there are these buttons on the front, but you can't actually do anything with them. And it's so freeing, especially if you're conducting. I love wearing a tailcoat when I'm conducting, because if you wear a suit or a tuxedo when you are conducting, you need to keep that buttoned. That's very important. All of the known experts agree on this subject. And if you watch Leonard Bernstein, always, when he's wearing a suit, always has it nicely buttoned. But the tailcoat, it does not button, so that's sort of advantageous. And now it's time for the cherry on top. You may consider the pocket square optional, but I hardly think it is. It really completes the whole look. This is actually not a pocket square. A pocket square is basically just, it's usually made out of silk. Well, it has to be made out of silk. Let's not kid ourselves. It's like a handkerchief, but it's smaller. This is actually a handkerchief. And I wear this at all of my concerts because it's sort of a good luck charm, because it may or may not have once belonged to a famous conductor whose name begins with an L and ends with Leonard Bernstein. There's many different ways to fold the pocket square. This works pretty nicely. Sort of a triangle poking up. You can have it off kilter. I mean, it's a great way to express your own individuality, the way that you fold your pocket square. Okay, so that's basically it for what is formal dress. And I just want to say that when you have the means to, it is so worth investing in a nice, custom-tailored set of tails. It really makes a very good presentation. Keep them cleaned. Keep that shirt always well-pressed and starched heavily. It just makes a very nice, makes you feel sort of grand. Well, YouTube, that's it for this episode of Ask a Maestro. Thank you for watching. Leave your musical questions in the comments, or your sartorial questions. I'd be happy to answer them as well. Until then, go play an instrument or sing a song, and goodbye, everyone.